John and Tom stand tall, discussing corruption, answering the call. Osceola's whispers, the truth we unveil. With each podcast episode, we set sail. Unsanctioned voices, we won't be ignored. Taking through lies, we strike a chord. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. Politicians trembling, they know we're awake. With facts on our side, we're here to shake. From local elections to making it clear, together we rise, let's spread the fear. Shining the light, the darkness won't last. In Osceola's depths, we're breaking the cast. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. Shining the light, the darkness won't last. In Osceola's depths, we're breaking the cast. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. So tune in each week, don't miss the show. John and Tom will help you know.
You can get some.
Well, if you were listening to what I said instead of looking on your phone, you would have said that you can call a special session without having the reforms lined up. If they're half-baked, people just run around like chickens with their heads cut off. And you could end up generating a product that causes problems. So we're doing this very thoughtfully. I've made it very clear to the public that we are going to do something. I'll have them in, and I don't even think I'm going to need to. I think they're going to want to call a session when they're in anyways. So it's going to happen, but we got to do this thoughtfully, and we got to make sure that this is given the relief people need, that we're having, that we are perhaps recognizing distinctions between condo associations and condos that have performed well and that have done the things that need to be done, and maybe some of the others that are more in the minority but that maybe haven't done that. So those things need to be hashed out. So we're proud to be able to go around the state and solicit feedback from people. I think we've got a number of good ideas, and those ideas will be worked through. But when the legislature does address this year, just know that it's not going to be willy-nilly. There's going to have been thought that was put into it. They're going to have looked at all these different issues, and they will have arrived at a consensus product that will address the needs that people have here in the state of Florida. So we got to do it.
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
Even sharing love, so I share love and we back.
Mr. Bourne is the most exciting thing Osceola County has. So we thought we had to get out here as he takes his walk on Pleasant Hill, where he is a local celebrity.
I just come out to walk, regular person walking with my dog, and I guess most of the people out here are dog lovers.
Yeah. Any mornings you've ever missed this walk?
Once I can walk, I will come out. It's a mindset. It's on you. You program your mind, you set a goal. Look, that's what I got to do. You get up, you do it.
It's amazing watching the joy you're bringing to everybody out here. I wish every neighborhood and every community had a Norris Bourne walking. We're bringing joy to people, positive attitude, what you're able to do out here. I mean, because all these folks are smiling from ear to ear.
If this make you happy, you do this. Right? Whatever make you happy.
Did you think you taking a walk with your dog would be such an impactful thing for our community?
Nope. I come out here to love, the smile on the people's faces, the happiness from the kids, you know. They make me feel special.
Yeah. I appreciate you letting us take a little bit of time to get to know you a little bit more. Friend, thank you so much for everything you do in our community and bringing joy to District 3 in Osceola County.
Thank you for everything you do. The guy's walking his dog and waving to the traffic, but props to
the most exciting thing in Osceola County.
Yeah, the most exciting thing. Props to Brandon Arrington though for standing out there in front of the traffic that he's created. You know that's his that's what he's created. So yeah, I can't believe he'd stand out there in front of the traffic he's created. Like you said in the pre-show, John, I wonder how many middle fingers he was getting while he was standing there, but.
Well, I mean, it's probably the first time Mr. Bourne has gotten a whole bunch of fingers while walking his dog on the street. He's walking with Brandon Arrington. I mean, this is a nice story. Mr. Bourne seems like a great guy. I've seen him before on the road. Great. Okay, cool. That's all cool. But you don't see the irony of there being traffic all on the road while they're doing it, and the guy who's maybe not majorly, but at least a huge portion of the traffic is due to him and his policies, is sitting there creating the traffic that you're waving at. If you can sit there and wave at traffic all day, clearly there's a problem, right? You can have conversations with the traffic on Poinciana Boulevard and Pleasant Hill because nobody's moving on that street. So the guy who created the traffic is there giving props to a guy who's entertaining the traffic that he created. It's just mind-boggling, right? And of course, somebody like Brandon Arrington doesn't see it. But worse than any of that is this is like fake politician in like the nth degree, right? It's like a guy. It's like, Bourne's a super nice guy. Okay, all that's fine and good. But when this guy comes and says, "Oh, you're the greatest thing going on. You're the most exciting thing," it's all this false praise, right? That shows you what an inauthentic ass Brandon Arrington is, right? That's all. He's an inauthentic ass. He's disingenuous. He probably doesn't give a crap about Mr. Bourne. And somebody said, "Oh, you need to go out there." People are all talking about Mr. Bourne out there walking his dog and waving at the cars. And so you should go out there and talk to him and put a little soundtrack of nice music going on. It's all contrived by a fake guy who has zero emotion, zero care for the community, zero love for the community, and is only there to make himself and his family richer. That's all he's done, aside from making more traffic.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see it just like that, John. One of the city staff probably went to him, or the county staff went to him and said, "Hey, you need to go out there with this guy. That would be a great video you could put out there while you're running for re-election, about positive."
Exactly. 16 years, we haven't seen. The only time he ever does this crap is when he's running for re-election, and nobody notices that, right? Like 8 or 9 months prior to the election day, he ramps it up and he's like moving and doing these videos and boating with gay Darren. I'm not gonna say anything there. I'm glad I misspoke the name there, but like boating and all this stuff, and we're gonna do all this cool little.
Boating with Brandon, where he went out there with people he
fake.
deems as important to the community, like Ricky Booth and a few others. He Brandon Arrington is the ultimate bad guy. He's the ultimate sleazeball. He's so inauthentic, just like you said. And I'm praying that people do not reelect this man and give him 20 years on the public dime. Please don't
Yeah.
do it. Please don't do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that he'll steal the election regardless. Him and his mammy will steal the election.
Well, we do
Well-
have his mother as a supervisor of elections, so and we know that she's broken election law at least 2 election cycles that we know of. So yeah, well, why would we
And I
be
think that she'll
surprised?
bend over backwards to break a law again, to break the law again for a third time, and get her, special needs son in that, the failed actor to keep. Well, welcome to another episode of Unsanctioned Florida. That was kind of a brutal start.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not big fans of Brandon Arrington on the show, but welcome to another episode of Unsanctioned Florida. I'm not even sure what episode this is. We have a whole bunch of cool stories. We don't need a special session, says the governor. You saw that. But get off of your. Don't be talking on your phone while you're listening to the governor speak.
And John, he was talking about the homeowners insurance crisis, problems that people are having with their homeowners associations and CDDs. And this is the thing. He says we don't need a special session, but once again, my homeowners insurance is renewing. It went up another $1,000. I have not made a claim on my insurance. I haven't had any problems here at all, and yet it goes up another $1,000. And I'm with Citizens, so that is supposed to be the cheapest that you can get. That is where you go when all else fails, and they raised me $1,000. You need to do something. You need to do something now, because the Democrats are talking about this. This is their secondary campaigning thing that they're doing. Their number one thing is the Democrat Party line, which is talking about abortion. But number two is the homeowners insurance crisis here in the state. They did a roundtable the other day, Democrats, all of them that are running for office, talking about how they're going to fix this problem. Republicans, you're handing this to them. You need to step up. You need to make something happen. You should have made something happen in the last session. You didn't do it. You need to do it now.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I think that you hit the nail on the head there. You can wait until session because it's only a few months away, but you better have a good answer. Don't come up with, and now you said, well, we don't need a special session because it's going to be half baked. All that's true, right? I suspect that they're waiting for lobbyists to write the laws. That's what I suspect. That's why they haven't done it, because they haven't been able to come up with an answer that they like, that the lobbyists like, and that's why they're delaying so much. They haven't gotten the answer. Just like, remember Robert Pass on that school board. What's the new guy's name? I don't remember. The other empty suit. What's the next empty suit? Erica Booth, empty suit, and now this new guy, the rodeo clown, empty suit. They get given a script, right? They read off a script and whatever. Well, that's what I think the legislature is waiting for. They're waiting for their script from lobbyists so that they can, the insurance companies and everybody, all the corporations get an answer that they can live with.
Yeah.
And so who knows if they solve the problem. I pray that they do. They need to do it in the next session. But now that he said we don't need a special session, then during the real session, that better be the number one thing that they resolve.
Yeah.
Because if that doesn't, then what are they doing? They're giving away the supermajority that Florida has in the House and the Senate. And they may be doing that on purpose because they don't like the power and they don't like the responsibility, because a lot of Republicans are very disenchanted. They're very disappointed with the performance of the Senate and the House over the past couple of sessions.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to do something, John. They need to do something. I get fired up about it. I know everybody else is too. It's just like the Klaus Schwab plan, that they don't want you to own anything. They're trying to price people out of their homes. Yet you have these corporations coming in and buying up all the homes so you can rent them out to people. They don't want you to own anything.
You can't say that it's a conspiracy if it's happening right under your nose, right? I mean, you can say if it's a conspiracy when you don't have any evidence of it. But when you see Americans leaving home ownership in droves and moving into apartments or renting houses because they can't afford to buy houses, and everybody's saying this is the only time you need to sell your house now, so they're selling their houses off, they're renting because you can't afford to keep a house, and then corporations are buying them all up, where they're just all the developments are now for rent properties. I mean, you can't say that it's a conspiracy any longer. Now, we may not disagree on the reason, but the byproduct is the same. So, in other news, we know the state does the right thing, but did they? Right? We're going to be talking about an investigation that the state is starting. A deeper investigation is definitely required in that situation, which we're going to talk about. DeSantis says vote and count ASAP. Get rid of satchels of votes. Well, we're going to talk about that. Sheriff Chitwood says he's prep walking the kids of bad parents. We'll talk about that. Bad news for historic Kissimmee company. The Partins get more favors from the government. Go figure. No more lawns. Can Osceola sustain the world's largest data center? And more on this episode of Unsanctioned Florida. Let's get to it. Oh, we're going to say a prayer really quickly, right? So, Lord, of all the states in the union to live in, Florida is the best. We appreciate the leadership that we've had in Florida over the past several years, which has really been put us at the lead in terms of states of freedom. We know that we could be doing better, and we hope and we pray for our leaders to actually begin performing like the leaders that we want them to be, and that we continue to improve our state and improve the freedom in this state, and to not just tolerate, but to combat the craziness of today's modern society, and all the junk that comes along with it that we don't want for our American families. Lord, please let our leaders put the American families first and write laws and execute laws that do exactly that. Put the American family first, so that these families can begin to recover and put you first in their lives. And that's where it all begins. In your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right, well, let's get to it.
All right, let's start off with the state. All right, John. So, we talked a lot about this on the America show, but this attempted assassination of President Trump that happened down there at Trump International. Governor DeSantis, is saying that some agencies that are prosecuting Trump, investigating this assassination attempt, may not be the best thing, and vows a credible truth after state-run investigation. Here he is.
I have not talked to him yet. I did announce yesterday we're going to be doing a state-level investigation. I understand that the feds are involved, but we do believe that there were multiple violations of state law. We also believe that there's a need to make sure that the truth about all this comes out in a way that's credible. I mean, I look at the federal government, with all due respect to them. Those same agencies that are prosecuting Trump in that jurisdiction are now going to be investigating this. I just think that may not be the best thing for this country. Nevertheless, they have their prerogative, but we have our prerogative, and so we'll be making an announcement further along those lines in the ensuing days.
Well, I'm glad to see that, John, to be honest with you. I'm glad to see that the state of Florida is going to do their own investigation, because we know that the federal government, we can't trust them to do a really unbiased investigation here,
Absolutely agree. I think that the state is doing the right thing. This is the right decision. It only makes sense, right? You can charge him with attempted murder. You can make a whole bunch of state level charges here. I don't know why the federal government would necessarily take charge. I guess it makes sense. It's what we would expect, right? But it may not necessarily be the right thing. And I'm glad DeSantis has great instincts, right? He has great legal instincts, especially when he's in some of these parental rights laws. He sees where all the legalities of governance and the wants and needs of the community, where those things intersect. He performs really well there, right? Where he does not perform well is the negotiation aspect of, now you also have to make these other people happy, right? Where you have to make everybody happy. You got to pick. Either you make the community happy, or you make these other, nebulous groups happy, and they're, unknown groups. And because this is the right decision. And then what comes next? What's the next thing that they decide?
Yeah, exactly. And, the funny thing, John, is that, Governor DeSantis said he wants to conduct this investigation into this, and that's great. I mean, I'm glad that he's going to do that. But the question is the person that he's chosen to do this. And this came out. This is on Twitter, and it talks about Dave Kerner. I'm sorry, Dave Kerner. Dave Kerner is the one person that Governor DeSantis wanted to appoint to investigate this attempted assassination. This is a tweet from Dave Kerner from back in 2016. It says, "Electeds, the only response to this is how can I fully help to make sure real Donald Trump never becomes president?" So I don't know, John. I mean, if this is the guy that Governor DeSantis, and I don't know that Governor DeSantis is the one who made this call. This might be somebody that works for Governor DeSantis that made this call. But we don't trust the federal government to do the investigation, but we're going to entrust Dave Kerner, looks like a never-Trumper, to do it.
What's the difference, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't stand it. You're 100% right, Tom. I mean, you're completely right. What's the point? What's the point? What's the point of you make the right decision here? The entire country is like, oh man, DeSantis. That's why we love DeSantis. And then DeSantis appoints a never Trumper to investigate it, who people aren't going to feel like is going to put the right thing. We've already seen that. That's what the federal government is doing. So why copy the federal government's model after you've already gone your own way and made a good decision and then come back onto their path? Listen. That's not why people love DeSantis. Why did people love DeSantis in 2018, in 2020, in 2022, right before declaring president? Why did people love DeSantis? It was because he always made the right decisions. Everybody was like, hell yeah, that's exactly what you should do, right? Everybody loved that about him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he runs for president. And now it's always like, oh, he does the right thing. And then right afterwards, he goes back and he does exactly what we would expect from the swamp. That's not what we want. I mean, gosh, man, I wish that he would go back to his original calling of just being just one of these a monster destroying wokeness and destroying the enemy. And the enemy has to do with the deep state instead of becoming part or bending knee or allying with it. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants DeSantis plus the deep state. That's not good enough.
No.
That's not good enough for America. All right. And I'm not saying that he is deep state. I'm not saying that he answers to the deep state. I'm not saying that this was a decision that was come to by the deep state. I'm just saying those are the speculations that people have. Like, that's the same disappointment. You get the same effect, which is what's so dangerous for him and his reputation, and his legacy, is that when he makes a decision like this, the common man takes it as that, regardless of whether it's true, right? They're assuming the worst. So, I mean, why? He knows it. He's got good instincts. So he knows that, that's not good enough. I mean, man, I wish that he would reach back to the levels that he was at prior to running for president, where we just thought that he was just, a butt kicker and just destroyed everybody in his path. And now a lot of people are just thinking, oh man, I don't know. You hear people call him the deep state all the time. And it's just, why make decisions that make people speculate that about you when you don't need to? He's got good instincts. He knows that's the consequence of it.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, he's made this decision. I don't know if it's going to change, but it's like you said, John, he's especially since his presidential run ended, he's been making moves towards doing things that people are like, yes, that's what, we expect from you, Governor DeSantis. But then he follows it up with something like this, like, appointing Dave Kerner or appointing Scott Ramsey.
That was a big one.
Early voting, you know what I mean? It's just like,
one.
we were glad he didn't do it at the beginning, but then he does it during early voting. Yeah.
So we had questions with Fred Hawkins, and then from Fred Hawkins to now a Fred Hawkins puppet. You didn't realize the mistake. I mean, it just goes to show how powerful this Osceola oligarchy is, that they have. It's like they have DeSantis under his thumb, or they've given him something that has made them valuable to him. I mean, it's just a shame that and we all feel sacrificed for it, right?
Absolutely. I spent 5 days out of state in another state, in a very large city. I was in Las Vegas. I did not see traffic like we have here in Osceola County in Las Vegas, and I was on the main strip, Las Vegas Boulevard. Did not see the traffic, and they were busy. They had conventions in town. And yes, they do have trams. They do have some public transportation. But my God, when we came back and I saw that traffic again, I was just like, this is unbelievable,
Right.
Anyway. All right, so moving on, John. I kind of got off subject there. But,
No, I mean that is. I mean that's a big part of what we're suffering here. You can't escape it.
No. So the Martin County Sheriff, Will Snyder, just suggested the possibility that Ryan Ralph, the attempted assassin of President Trump, may be part of a greater conspiracy to go after President Trump. Here he is.
About 2 miles to get all the resources in play so we could surround that vehicle and force it to a stop.
How was he driving when your deputy saw him?
How was he driving when we saw him? He was smart. He was just driving with the flow of traffic. Yeah, I think that he may have thought he got away with it. Of course, he couldn't have known that there was a witness who really did the right thing, took a picture of him, took a picture of the tag. That he may have thought he got away with it. Of course, he couldn't have known that there was a witness who really did the right thing, took a picture of him, took a picture of the tag. And he was just going to drive himself back to wherever he came from.
Did he have any, to your knowledge, any ties to Martin County or the Treasure Coast?
Yeah, to my knowledge, does he have any ties to Martin County? I think the answer, to my knowledge, the answer is no, I have no knowledge. I think what we're finding out is he's not from this area, which of course raises the bigger question is, how does a guy from not here get all the way to Trump International, realize that the president, former president of the United States, is golfing and is able to get a rifle in that vicinity? I think that's the question the FBI, the Secret Service are laser focused on today. Is this guy part of a conspiracy?
So here's the thing. Not just that he's golfing. So he's got the president's itinerary, right? He knows he's familiar enough. Any American can find their way with our road signs and whatever. Get to the golf course. But how would he know that there's a big gap in the fence where you can stick a rifle through and have access to where the president is going to be?
Yeah.
How would that happen? How would a crazy liberal from Hawaii know that there's a gap in the fence where you can stick a rifle through and have a shot at the president where he's going to be there? How do you, it's like this. Let's say that you are from the 1500s, you're from the 16th century, okay? And you teleport to the future and you see a plane, okay? And then you find yourself like in a World War II bomber plane and you have this machine gun in front of you and you know to lead that aircraft. It's like all of a sudden, all this knowledge comes to you. No, it doesn't happen like that, right? You don't know how to do things like just out of nowhere. Supposedly, this guy was an FBI or a CIA asset. He was, this is crazy. You can deny conspiracy, but not when the evidence is right there in front of your nose of conspiracy. And all conspiracy means is more than one person, involved in this collusion. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's some kind of, dark art, thing happening that nobody knows about.
Well, we talked about on the America show the connection that this guy has with the first shooter, Thomas Crooks. They were both in BlackRock commercials, like you said.
How does that happen?
How does that happen? And how does this guy get there and find all these things? He knows the president's going to be playing golf on this day. He knows that there's a spot in the fence that he can stick the rifle through. None of this makes sense. And this is how conspiracies start. This is how, people start thinking and leaning towards conspiracy. Is because of these things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no way that this is even remotely true that he was just on his own and no big deal. He was just on his own. He was acting by himself.
Something's up.
Yeah.
Something's up. So please, God, protect President Trump. You have so far, and please continue to do so because we need him. We need him bad. All right, John. So Governor DeSantis warns against dragging vote count beyond election night, that it's absolutely killing public trust. He was on with Maria Bartiromo. Here he is.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because here's the New York Times this weekend, by the way. Harris or Trump, once again, election results could take a while. And the New York Times writes, for the second straight presidential election, it's becoming increasingly likely that there will be no clear and immediate winner on election night, and that early returns could give a false impression of who will ultimately prevail. What?
It's outrageous. And the thing you have is you'll have one candidate that may have a big lead because of election day votes. And then people wake up the next morning and say, oh, yeah, my candidate's up 6%. And then they keep counting the next day. And then they count more the next day, and then the lead flips. And so obviously what's going on in that period, but even if there was nothing, even if it was all in the up and up, that destroys confidence in how these elections happen. So any of those states that are doing what the New York Times is saying, they are absolutely killing public trust in these elections. Count the votes on election night and report the results.
Governor, before you go, if Trump
Do you
were to
agree,
win,
Paul?
is there something that the federal government should be doing? Is there a change that should happen to ensure fair elections nationally?
Well, I certainly think doing the SAVE Act, which would require people to be citizens to vote and actually put teeth in that, I think his immigration policies to repatriate the illegals and close the border will also help, because that's going to make it less likely that those folks will be able to vote. But I do think that we need to do something on a grander scale to combat the ballot harvesting. I mean, it's just ridiculous that you can go out in some of these states and get a satchel of votes and then just dump them in some drop box. That's not the way an election is supposed to be run.
Wow, no, it is not.
Wow,
Governor,
I
great to
agree
catch
with
up.
that,
Thanks so
right?
much for being
Yeah,
here
I
this
totally
morning.
agree with him. I totally agree with him on that. I don't think there should be drop boxes, period, because we know we've seen them here in Osceola County. There shouldn't be these drop boxes anywhere. I mean, but
We've
also
seen
know-
examples of people dumping ballots in a Dropbox. I've seen video of people coming and dropping ballots in a box, right? And nobody was even out there when it was happening. And then somebody did eventually come out. I mean, come on. Now, is this the only problem? Now, here's Governor DeSantis. Is just what we're saying earlier, right? DeSantis is, you're all for what he said. You're 100% right, DeSantis. This is great. This is exactly what we want to hear. This is great. Great job, DeSantis. We really appreciate this. And then what happens? You have the Secretary of State come down to Osceola County, not come down to Osceola County, it happened somewhere else, but he basically did a video with our supervisor of elections after she had just lied on TV about violating state statute 2 election cycles in a row. Come on. I mean, really? That's not voter integrity. How can you say, we shouldn't have, and I agree 100%, we shouldn't have drop boxes. That's one way to remove the entire problem. Nobody will be able to dump a satchel of votes into a drop box if you remove the drop box from the equation, right? But you also have these problems. So it's like, why? What is going on about Osceola County that has such a grip that will prevent him from doing all the things that he's doing throughout the state here in Osceola County? Yeah. Why is Osceola County different?
That's the big question, John. Well, that's the $1 million question right there, is why we're not looking into Osceola County, why we're not doing anything about Osceola County, why we continue to have this supervisor of elections that has a major conflict of interest between her son,
Multiple.
her daughter-in-law, and herself. The fact that she's broken election law in 2 election cycles and nothing is done. We have Cord Bird coming down here and filming a video with her about election integrity, when he had to cite her for breaking election law, and she got basically a slap on the wrist, telling her to write an essay basically on how she was going to do better. That's not good enough.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's just it's. I mean, come on, we can do better. We can do better. I mean, why not? Why move right? Why remove Monique Worrell and not Mary Jane Arrington?
Yeah.
Why remove Monique Worrell and then endorse Fred Hawkins, right? It can't be just because he's a Republican. Why? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll die thinking about that and what that means.
Anyway, John. All right. So moving on. This boy here. He was arrested and perp walked and thrown in jail after bragging about a kill list and showing off his arsenal of weapons. Supposedly, he threatened a mass shooting at 2 different schools. Here he is, and here's Sheriff Mike Chitwood.
What we're going to start doing Monday is, since parents, you don't want to raise your kids, I'm going to start raising them. Every time we make an arrest, your kid's photo is going to be put out there. And if I could do it, I'm going to perp walk your kid so that everybody can see what your kid's up to.
All right, sir. Carefully as you can. You're going to be walking over here to the gate over here, all right? Slow and steady. What you here for today? We're going to get you here and come over, all right?
This really is sad to watch and hard to watch, right? I mean, you have a kid who's being perp walked and jailed and whatever, and I get it. This kid is going to serve as the example. We've had threats throughout the state, and especially in Osceola County, from what I understand, we're not the worst hit by these threats, but we're having threats against schools like never before, and it obviously has to do with kids just not knowing what's going on and parents not knowing how to prevent this, right? They don't know how to prevent this. I mean, you don't know that this is happening with your kid. If you don't know, you got to be involved. You got to know what your kid is thinking. You need to have these conversations. Don't just leave them on their tablet all day. You need to. You obviously you can't trust the schools with your kids, right? And you sometimes you can't even trust the other parent with these kids. I mean, look at what happened with the poor Soto case, right? You got to be. If you love your kid, there's nothing that will replace your involvement in their lives, a relationship between you and your child. You better get on it. So, I mean, as much as I don't necessarily agree, I can't blame the sheriff for doing this. These kids need to be woken up, and they need to understand that life is life. It's not like you don't get extra lives. This is not a video game.
Yeah, no doubt, John. So this boy, his name was, he's 11 years old. His name is Carlo Kingston Durelli. Mike Chitwood says, every time we make an arrest, your kid's photo is going to be put out there. We're going to come and get you. We're going to put you out for public embarrassment. Like I said, he had threatened 2 schools with a mass shooting. We saw pictures of his arsenal in that video. He was charged with a felony for the written threat of a mass shooting. So, yeah, it's sad, it's sad. But it's sad that this is the case and that they have to cart off an 11-year-old to the jail and perp walk him. But what's not sad is the fact that Mike Chitwood is doing it. I'm very happy about that, and they need to do that more, because we have a lost generation right now. We have a lost generation that isn't being raised properly by their parents. The parents are letting electronics raise their kids, and this is the result you get.
Yep, you're 100% right. That's exactly right. You're allowing the system and chance to raise your kid, right? Yeah. It's all about allowing. It's just by chance. Everything is chance. You are allowing your kid to be raised by the things that interact with him environmentally and any of those things that, and that's why so many of these kids are like, oh, I'm having issues. I'm going to be transgender. And that's might be the only way that they get attention from their parents. So like I said, I can't necessarily condone the practice, but these parents do need to suffer a consequence when they fail to raise their kids, properly and maybe not be in jail, but it may some public embarrassment is not bad. Some public humiliation, is not the worst thing that could happen. It's like, if it doesn't cost you money, if people look at you like you're an idiot, then at least maybe you won't let your kid compile a cache of weapons under their bed consisting of a bunch of swords, and you not bother to ask them, hey, what happened with why do you have like all these airsoft guns, and why do you have all these knives and swords under your bed?
Yeah, I know that video went quick, over his arsenal, but he had swords, he had shurikens, he had a 9mm, he had an assault rifle of some sort. I don't even know I didn't see it real quick, but I saw it. He had many guns in that arsenal. parents, you need to know what your kids are doing. You need to know your kids, know what they're thinking, know what they're doing, know what they're saying, and if you don't, this could happen to you. So,
Absolutely.
all right.
Absolutely.
So before we go on to Osceola County, John, we have this important commercial message.
Did you know? Did you know Mary Jane Arrington, supervisor of elections, sent out texts and promoted on social media a voter registration event with members of the Osceola County Association of Realtors on June 20th of this year? Great, right?
But that's not all.
Correct, that's not all. What's more interesting is the rest of the story. Why would you have an event just for realtors, when typically realtors are some of the most engaged people in our community? Strange that there was plenty of merchandise and materials promoting Mary Jane Arrington, supervisor of elections, all materials paid for with your tax dollars. This isn't meant to upset you, it's meant to inform you, because the more you know, the better informed you are when you cast your vote this November.
Come on, guys.
All right, John. So this just happened recently. Tupperware. It was the Magic Kingdom before the Magic Kingdom. Tupperware is filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and here's a little video about that.
So many of our lives is going bankrupt, but did you know the company has a rich history here in Central Florida? News 6's Laverne McGee joins us now to tell us what happened.
Tupperware's YouTube channel brings you down memory lane when women were introduced to Tupperware parties.
At a Tupperware home party.
The American brand was founded right here in Central Florida back in 1946. Not only have we been enjoying the various plastic kitchen containers, the company has created thousands of jobs for people here and around the world. But now Tupperware is filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection, citing a huge decline in sales. Local author Bob Keeling wrote a book called Life of the Party about founder Earl Tupper and top sales leader Brownie Wise.
It was the Magic Kingdom in Orlando many years before Walt Disney ever came around. So there's a special attachment here in Central Florida to this iconic product and the home party company that started here in 1951.
Tupperware has evolved and grown over the years. I'm here at their huge headquarters on Orange Blossom Trail in Kissimmee, where some employees here are still working despite news of the bankruptcy.
But from the looks of it, not many. There were just a few cars in the parking lot. The fountain was turned off, and a sign on the door said the museum inside that's normally open to the public is closed until October 1st.
We went on the hunt looking for Tupperware. Well, one store had some empty shelves.
The few items left had a huge discount.
Came synonymous with vacuum sealed products, and after a certain amount of time, Earl Tupper's patent expired, and the product wasn't so revolutionary anymore. And there were other companies that did what the Tupperware folks felt were knockoff products.
Laverne McGee, Getting Results, News 6.
Yeah, so, there's a lot of knockoff products out there, John. We know this. Tupperware was the first one. But, other products came along after the patent expired. They were cheaper, they were more affordable, and you could buy them anywhere. So it was just kind of like, okay, here we go. Now Tupperware is filing for bankruptcy. I don't know what they're going to do from here, but, you would think that as a business, you have this niche, you have this product, right? You know your patent's coming, and somebody's going to come and try and make it cheaper than you. You have to compete, you have to fight, and I don't think Tupperware really has done that. I've always seen their products at a price point that's been super expensive, and it's sad. It's sad. It was one of those things. I know you being from Kissimmee and me being from St. Cloud, we both know growing up about the Tupperware headquarters in Kissimmee. It was huge. Really sad to hear this news, but I guess it is what it is, right, John?
Yeah, obviously the economy's not as strong or nearly as strong as we were being told by the DeSantis team. or by the Harris team, right? Clearly, um, they're lying. Otherwise, you may not have they may not have felt the pressure from these generic Tupperware items, right? You know, a Tupperware can compete better when the economy is better. So clearly, the economy is wreaking havoc on all these companies. And now it's hitting really close to home here in Kissimmee. They're on 192. We have a school right next to the Tupperware facility. It's a huge campus. It's beautiful. They are a historic Kissimmee company, and now you know they're filing Chapter 11. I hope that now Chapter 11 is different from other chapters, where essentially you can restructure your debt and you can try to reorganize your companies for survival, and so possibly that's what their intention is. But at the end of the day, you know, I mean, you have to. They knew, right? A patent runs out, and you know when it's going to run out, and then you know what the consequence of that patent running out is going to be, and so you prepare. So really, I think this is less about the patent and far more about an economy which is very weak, and even in a strong state, the economy is not as strong as we would like. And to me, that's what. Aside from the fact that obviously some leadership decisions may not have been the best at Tupperware, otherwise they would have been prepared for this eventuality.
Yeah, absolutely, John. All right, so the Water Management District is cutting the ribbon on a 3,000-acre storage project south of St. Cloud, and this picture here says it all. You can see there's Cheryl Greed, Ricky Booth, and Mayor Blackwell, outgoing Mayor Blackwell. He'll be out of here very soon, thank God. But anyway, this project is a direct response to the flooding that occurred in the area from Hurricane Ian in September of 2022, said Megan Jacoby, South Florida Water Management District Bureau Chief for Everglades and Estuary Protection. The project started in April of 2024 and has a total cost of $2 million over the next 10 years. The project will store over 1 billion gallons of water in 2 separate water management areas and will take overflow from nearby Lake Gentry. Osceola County Commissioner for District 5, Ricky Booth, who is also a member of the Partin family, cited the high level of cooperation between the ranch, South Florida Water Management District, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, Osceola County, and the Army Corps of Engineers to complete the project in a timely manner. So it looks like the Partins or the Booths, you know, apples and oranges, they are getting some more money from the state.
Yeah, apparently the state is investing heavily in this relationship. You know, these people, Ricky Booth wants to be the commissioner of agriculture, and he's building these relationships and making these things happen, I think. And he's using his position as a county commissioner and a landowner to make those things happen and to bring favor back to his family. And you can't. I mean, they already paid for the state already paid him millions of dollars for the development rights, right? So he got millions of dollars without having to change his property at all. So while these other, you know, they've sold thousands of acres for more than $100 million. Now they got millions of dollars so that they can not change the rest of their land and then act like they're heroes for it. Now they're being used as a retention pond, which, I mean, that might be good use for Ricky Bobby. He's a retention pond. Sure, but they want to use this as water overflow area, and go ahead. The state is going to invest in it. So, I mean, the state continues to do favors for this family. It's just you don't see a lot of this happening across the county. So we have in Osceola County. Apparently, people don't know this. Our county commissioners certainly don't know it. Osceola County has low wage jobs. They have low power, right? We're going to have power problems now because we're going to talk about other story too. But, you know, we have this we have obviously flooding and all kinds of problems here. They put this factory, this chemical factory up here on Pleasant Hill by a school, right? That in itself is going to be bad. They had originally put it on Lake Tahoe itself so that they can pollute that lake. Now they're going to do this. I mean, it's like the only way anything can happen is if it involves making or positioning one of these families in a better spot. And that just seems like a super a very unjust way to govern a county. And I mean, and apparently they have the state sanctioned because it's sanctioned by the state because they all these rhinos and swamp turds they love each other, and that's what they are. They're like a bunch of amphibian waste, and so they get the favor that they need from wherever it is that it's coming from that's making these decisions.
Yeah, yeah. It's just unbelievable to me. They look like heroes at the end of the day because of the things they do, and they put it out there, when they're running for election that they do these things, and then, make themselves out to be the heroes. It's just like the same thing with the selling of the land rights, which of course we know that that's temporary. That's not going to be something that lasts forever. Or the fact that he put his face and his name on the football field at St. Cloud High School, it's just ridiculous. It's another example.
I mean, I guarantee you that face is going to go up on that scoreboard. They're waiting it. They put it on ice. Yeah. It's on ice right now. And as soon as I leave that seat in November, I can guarantee you that guy's face is going to end up on that scoreboard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to become the Ricky Booth ballpark. That's it. Yeah. And people need to know that's just same thing. Like the slave masters down here, the Arringtons on the pool, the public pool. They put the Arrington's name on it, and that's what they want. They just want to see their names. They're so self-absorbed. I mean, greed. What did she do? She built a statue in honor of her own gay homosexuality. Yeah. I mean, that's she. In order to honor her sexuality, she built a 250-foot statue. That is also an insult to Christians by it being like a faux fish.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible that they do these things and they get away with it.
Yeah.
And you just point to the corruption.
The worship wall that they had in the Osceola County Commission chambers, where they just cycles through pictures of them. And it's huge, huge. If you've never been there, it's huge. Huge TV screens with their pictures are cycling through one after another. And I call it the worship wall. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Exactly.
Hopefully we see some change on that county commission this November. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. See. So, John, Central Florida is going to welcome its first naturehood in Osceola County. This is in what is going to be St. Cloud because it's going to be annexed into the city if it hasn't already. But here it is.
Osceola County is now paving the way for sustainable water and landscaping. West 2's Spencer Tracy takes us to the first ever naturehood.
A new kind of neighborhood is blooming in Osceola County with a deep connection to nature.
Instead of calling it the landscape, I call it my pollinator show. Because imagine coming out and seeing the butterflies and the different bees.
Melissa Henry lives in the Westland Park community in Sunbridge. It is Central Florida's first naturehood that is over 27,000 acres. Every home has drought-free landscaping and solar panels.
I saw a huge cost savings in my utility bills.
Central Florida Water Initiative says by 2035, Osceola County will face a water shortfall exceeding 250 million gallons. That's why Tavistock Development is introducing a new water conservation program. The goal is for homeowners to reduce indoor and water usage by 50% in the next 10 years.
We have to approach it differently. We have to use different plant material because water is not infinite.
A unique thing about living in this neighborhood is you get to pick out your own landscape. That includes choosing from close to 100 different native plants that don't require a lot of water and are low maintenance.
This type of irrigation system and landscape might be new to some.
Gonna bloom and it will become the star of the landscape.
That's why Cherry Lake Landscape Company comes in to educate residents for free.
We accommodate all of these people moving to our state while protecting and preserving the beauty that has attracted them in the first place.
As this neighborhood saves water by the minute, Henry says she's doing her job to protect the environment for future generations. In St. Cloud, Spencer Tracy, West 2 News.
And Sunbridge says their next step is building a water dashboard to study the individual use of water throughout the neighborhood.
Well, isn't that great? They're going to track how much water you use.
That's creepy, isn't it? That's creepy. Yes, they're putting in Thetford Wives neighborhood. I mean, listen, here's the thing. I don't care about the lawn, right? I think it's silly anyways. But for the HOA to have control over what you have in your front yard is terrible. Now for these people to be watching what you have in your front yard is even worse. But I mean, I'm okay with the plan. Okay, so why do a lawn, which is just a waste of water and whatever, because it looks like everybody's the same? Instead, go ahead and plant your own things. Why not do vegetables? I don't understand why you wouldn't do a garden in a lawn. But HOAs are so like such Nazis over your lawn. They even describe what kind of grass, what breed of grass, what direction the blades of the grass are growing in. It's nuts. So I mean, I'm not opposed to this. I just don't like the creepy way in which they're proposing it. We're gonna do a neighborhood watch on grass. I mean, why would anybody want that? I don't know.
No, it was creepy what the guy was saying too, because he was saying we want to accommodate all these people that are moving to our state. You know, these things aren't being built for the existing residents. These are being built for people they want to bring into the state and put them in these homes. And then we're gonna, put their yards to look like something you'd expect in Arizona or Nevada. I don't know. It's just really strange, John.
It is kind of strange. There's definitely a change, right? And Tavistock absolutely control. They own, like the 5 county commissioners are like Roman slaves to Tavistock. Believe me, Tavistock is like a huge deal. They're local. They're powerful. They're huge. They developed Lake Nona. If they said that we're going to change every home is going to be purple, then you would see these gutless, spineless cowards on the county commission they'd be out with a paintbrush themselves painting out, because they're absolutely owned by corporations or organizations like Tavistock, completely and totally without any reverberation at all. There's no doubt, there's no hesitation, nothing. They're owned by them. So they can do whatever they want. Now, clearly, at least Tavistock, I would trust Tavistock more than I would trust our county commissioners. So that may not be a bad situation or a bad circumstance in Osceola County, but you're right, and it's just shame. It's like you said, that you were talking about in prep. Like this is a Charles Schwab type of what's it, Klaus
Schwab, yeah.
Klaus Schwab's dream for us not to own any of our homes anymore. And you can see that happening in Osceola County. What a perfect place to experiment with that. What better place than Osceola County, where we have county commissioners who have no interest at all in the success and happiness and perpetuation of wealth of its own citizens. At Osceola County, the commissioners don't care about that at all. They care about themselves.
We already have 4 build-to-rent communities in St. Cloud. 4 build-to-rent communities.
Thousands more on the way. Thousands on the way. And it's going to be harder and harder to own a home here. And if your name's not Partin, then you should, if you're not a part of the aristocracy, then you shouldn't be allowed to have a home. And eventually they're going to make people feel that way here. And that's why you're going to see a lot of people leave Osceola, which they want anyways, because then they have more control. So they want anybody who's resistant, they want you to leave. They want to take your house.
Especially
they want your house.
If you're somebody that grew up here, you're an existing resident, and you're not part of the landowner class, the large landowner class. You're not wanted here anymore. They want you out.
No, they don't want you here. They don't want anybody to know that it was differently, that it was managed differently at some point. They don't want anybody to know that this is an not an agri-tourist business, which I don't have any problem with that, but that's what they want. They want people to view the agriculture here as a toy, and they want people to come here and look at, oh, well, look, this is a suburb of Orlando, and we're I'm trying to think of the right words in my mind, because essentially what they want to do is, just like they made our county logo the LGBT logo almost, right? And and I think that's really what they want to do. They want to make this we're going to make this a hotbed of indecent living, right? I think that's what they want. That's at the bottom line of it. They want this to be the perfect liberal suburb of Orlando. That's what they want for this, and they want the development. And all these Republicans that live here that are just surrendering, and Ricky Bobby, who just pulls down his pants and bends over for all these Democrats on the county commission. Well, I mean, they fit in perfectly, don't they?
Yeah. And you're right, John. That's the ultimate goal for our county
It's the
commission.
ultimate goal.
is
That's
to
the ultimate
make
goal.
this area the perfect suburb for Orlando, and
Yeah.
that would involve all the things that we're talking about.
Mixed, right? Between like we're gonna sell all this crappy housing, low quality housing. We're gonna have all this low income housing. We're gonna have all the crime. Essentially, we are a retention pond for everything negative for Orlando. So while we're saying it's like this liberal battle, yeah, we're talking about Detroit. We're not talking about like some nice place. We're talking about they would love for this to be like a Detroit, like a mini Detroit, a Detroit suburb of Orlando, which Orlando's going to be nice, and then Osceola County is going to be trash. That's what they would love to turn it into.
Well, that brings up the next story right there. Osceola is being scouted for one of the world's largest data centers. And if you don't know what a data center looks like, here's a picture of one. Yep, that's what it looks like. So a site in rural Osceola is being scouted for a new data center that could rival the largest in the world and bring billions of dollars in new investment to the county. A company using the name U.S. Development, they're using the name, that's not their name? I mean, what's going on here?
Yeah, very strange, right?
Is scheduled for a pre-application meeting with county planning on October 15th to discuss rezoning the balance of the property from agricultural to industrial for this new data center plan development. The land is owned by two ownership groups, Yeehaw Ranch LLC and Patricia and Clyde Luke. Never heard of them. This project would rise on 434 acres on US 441, just north of the Florida Turnpike interchange with State Road 60 in Yeehaw. To the south lies 27,000 acres of DeLuca Preserve, one of the state's largest nature preserves. Although the site is located well outside of the county's urban growth boundary, more than 100 acres already have industrial future land use because it was previously zoned for a warehouse distribution center. So this is another pic of what this is going to look like and then the land that's surrounding it. So you see that wetland at the top of the screen. That is the DeLuca Preserve. This area of water here is going to be the lake runoff from this plant. And this is a data center. This does not need a lot of employees. So this isn't going to be a job creator in Osceola County. This is a place where one or two people are needed to basically make sure everything's running the way it's supposed to, and maybe one or two people are there to guard it. But yeah, this is not a job creator. It might bring billions of dollars into the county coffers itself, and to the county commissioners that approve this, but it's not going to bring any more money than that into the county, and possibly could contaminate the water surrounding it and that wetland preserve that's above it. So.
Well, it definitely has demands on our resources, electricity, water. It requires for sure. Has some requirements that are going to be draws on the system, and I don't know if we can support it. Our infrastructure can even support it right now. But it's funny that there's constant. It's just funny that there's like absolute constant drawing on our thing. That it may not be a bad thing. Okay, so it may not be a bad thing. I don't know enough about it, but I do know that they're going to have to really help Lake Toho water, right? They can't even get our city water in St. Cloud right. So now you're going to have this giant factory. They're telling you, we just had a story where they're telling you that the lawn, right? They're going to be monitoring how much water you're using for your lawn. And then they're putting this more than 1 million square feet of data center, which is going to have a ton of demands on water and power. How are they going to do that? I mean, how can you do both of those things? I don't know. And we're talking, I think, what it was, 500 acres, right? So they sold hundreds of acres recently in South Osceola County, on the border of South Osceola County, for a solar farm. Now they have this portion in Hullapaw. I mean, it might bring in some jobs. It might be great for the community of Hullapaw, but who knows? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, like I said, John, it doesn't require a lot of people to work there. I mean, it really doesn't. It's a data center. It's a bunch of computers in a building. and all they need is somebody to make sure the computers are running themselves, and maybe some guards to make sure nobody gets in there and steals something or does something foul to it. But my biggest question is this, John. Why would we put this data center, possibly the largest in the world, out in Yeehaw Junction, when we have a place we call Neo City?
Neo City? Yeah, you would think, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's
Neo
supposed
City.
to be, the technological center of Osceola County. Why wouldn't we
Yep.
put it in Neo City?
Because clearly they didn't do the infrastructure that they needed.
Yeah. So something's up with this. It's just craziness. More craziness out of Osceola County. I don't know how much longer I can stay here, John. I love this place. I grew up here, but the more news that comes in, the more we talk about these things, the more every time I go on vacation, I'm like, well, this might be a good place to retire. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly problems in Osceola County that we don't know what's going on, and only someone devoid of care. It's like Kamala Harris, right? How can Kamala Harris be so bad at her job, right? How can she be so bad? How can Biden be so bad at their job? Well, it's the same with our county commissioners, and you got to wonder, just like we do about Harris, are they doing it on purpose? You're doing such a horrendous job on the border of the United States, Kamala. How can you be possibly trying, right? Yeah. Well, it's the same here. These guys are doing such a horrendous job with Osceola County. How can they possibly be trying unless they're trying? I think what they're trying to, this is the way that you field dress an animal. Okay, you gut the animal, and that's what they've done. They've gutted. Right now, they're in the process of gutting Osceola County for everything that's good, right? And then what do they leave behind? They take the meat and they leave behind all the guts, right? And that's what they're doing. They're going to leave. They're going to take all the meat with them when they leave, and they're going to leave behind all the guts. And that's what we're going to have to. That's what we're going to survive off of, is those guts. That's what they're doing. Because there's no other explanation for county leadership to be this way. There's no other explanation.
Oh, well. All right, John. Well, that's the show. We're ending at 1 hour and 7 minutes.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Me and my good friend, Citizen Tom Lord over here, School Board Member John Arguello, and Citizen Tom, we wish you a very great week. This is a great weekend. We appreciate you sticking with us. Please like and share the show. And as always, God bless you. We'll see you next week.